If winter is still hanging around where you live, I'm going to help you make dinner feel warm and simple. We're using 2 proteins this week. We've got ground turkey and some chicken thighs, and then we're using 2 carbs this week as well. We've got some orzo pasta and some gold potatoes. I'm going to be using those same ingredients to make 4 very different dinners. We've got a lasagna soup, we have a loaded taco potato bowl, we have an Italian chicken skillet, and then a creamy garlic chicken. All using the same ingredients, just different flavors, and I'll show you exactly how I do it. If you're new here, my name is Michelle, and I am a full-time working mom of 2 littles who focuses on trying to get high-protein, healthy meals on the table for dinner specifically, but then also breakfast and lunch options, but on the table in less than 15 minutes during the week. In order to do that, I meal prep some components on Sundays. I don't do like full-blown meal prep necessarily, but I try and focus on the things that take the most time on Sundays, but still allow me to create 4 very different dinners during the week using those components and ingredients that are prepped. And then that allows me to get dinner on the table in less than 15 minutes, which in my book is a win, because when 5 o'clock rolls around in my house, things start going a little downhill. We are hungry and tired and patience is a little low. So if I can get a healthy, high protein dinner on the table in less than 15 minutes, then that is a mom win. So if you also want a mom win or parent win or whatever, then follow along. And if you want to follow along exactly with the meals that I'm making this week, you can go ahead and download the free menu, which comes with a prep list, ingredient list, etc. That is in the description below, completely free. So go ahead and download that if you are interested in following along. If you missed the meal prep that goes along with this week's dinners, you can go ahead and click this video and that will walk you through exactly what I prepped, how I prepped it, why I prepped it. Without further ado, let me show you exactly how I got it done. All right, first up this week are these loaded taco potatoes, and this is exactly why I love prepping components ahead of time. The potatoes were already roasted earlier in the week, and the ground turkey was fully cooked and seasoned. So tonight is really not about cooking, it's just about reheating and assembly, which is the goal on busy weeknights. I always love reheating potatoes in the air fryer. It just brings them back to life. They get crispy on the outside again, soft in the middle, and honestly, sometimes better than day one. Once they're hot, I add shredded cheese right on top, and then I pop them back in the air fryer for a few minutes until they're melted and bubbly. It's just that little extra step that makes them feel like a brand new meal instead of leftovers. While that's going, I made a quick guacamole, and around here, it's literally just mashed avocado and some garlic salt. Super simple. If you like heat, I did chop up some jalapenos. Again, totally optional, especially if you've got little kids eating too. But for my kids, I kept it really straightforward. Some cheesy potatoes. They had already been eating some chips with some guacamole, so I just added taco turkey on top and then some guacamole on the side. They were happy. I'm not negotiating dinner and everyone wins. So for my husband and I, this is where we layer it up a little bit more. Potatoes is the base, ground turkey, Greek yogurt instead of sour cream, guacamole, salsa, shredded lettuce, jalapenos, and cilantro. It was hearty, high protein, super filling, but still balanced. And my husband immediately said, we need to make these again, which is always how I know it's going to go into the regular rotation. Same protein, same potatoes, different plates, and that's the system. Next up is the Italian chicken orzo skillet, and again, this is fully built off prepped components. The orzo was already cooked earlier in the week, the chicken thighs were already seasoned and oven roasted, so tonight I'm really just bringing everything back together. I started by reheating the chicken thighs in a skillet. I like doing this on the stovetop instead of the microwave. It crisps the outside back up a little bit, especially with chicken thighs. That texture makes a huge difference in my opinion. Once the chicken was hot, I poured in the creamy marinara sauce that I had blended with cottage cheese earlier in the week. It gives you that rich, creamy texture, but keeps the protein really high and the fat a little lighter than a traditional cream sauce. It's so good, you cannot even taste that there's cottage cheese in there. I let that simmer together until it's hot and bubbly, and then I tossed in a big handful of spinach, and it looks like a lot at first, but you know spinach, it wilts down quickly into the sauce and becomes a really good added source of veggies. If the sauce feels a little thick, you can add a splash of chicken stock to loosen it up like I did. And then goes in the cooked orzo. You stir everything together so it soaks up that creamy tomato sauce and top with a little mozzarella cheese so it melts right into the skillet. I pulled the chicken out just to slice it into smaller pieces and mix it back in, or you can serve it right on top. And that's it. Scoop it into bowls, finish with some Parmesan if you want, and dinner was done. Same chicken, same carb that we'll use later in the week, and completely different flavor profile. And this is how I keep weeknights interesting without cooking from scratch every night. Next is a creamy garlic chicken with potatoes, and this one was so extra cozy. Again, the chicken thighs were already cooked earlier in the week, and the potatoes were already roasted. So again, not starting from scratch, just building flavor. I started by chopping up an onion and sauteing it in a cast iron skillet with some garlic. Let that soften and get fragrant, and that's going to be the base of the sauce. Once that's softened, I added a splash of chicken stock to start building the creamy garlic base. Then I stirred in some ricotta and a handful of spinach. Ricotta makes it creamy without needing heavy cream, and the spinach just really melts right into the sauce. While that was simmering, I threw the pre-roasted potatoes into the air fryer to bring back that crispy texture. Air fryer potatoes are just perfect for reheating, in my opinion. I sliced up the cooked chicken thighs and added them into the skillet so they could warm in that garlicky, creamy sauce. When the potatoes were almost done, I sprinkled a little mozzarella on top and popped them back in just long enough for that cheese to melt. And then back at the skillet, finished off with a little bit of mozzarella and Parmesan so everything gets melty and rich. And that was it. Crispy potatoes, creamy garlic chicken, a big comfort food, but made from components I had already made earlier in the week. It was cozy, it was filling, and it didn't require cooking an entire dinner from scratch at 5:30. Last up is lasagna soup, and honestly, this might have been the easiest dinner of the whole week. The meat sauce was already made earlier when I had cooked the ground turkey, so I wasn't starting from scratch. I just poured it into a saucepan and added some bone broth to thin it out and turn it into more of a soup consistency. And really, that was it. That was the base. So I let that heat up until it was nice and bubbly. And then, surprise, I added spinach. I feel like the spinach made an appearance in almost every meal this week, but that's just such an easy way to add a vegetable. And I hate wasting food. So it was great to use a big container of spinach throughout the week. It essentially wilts down to nothing. So even picky eaters don't really notice, at least in my house. So to make it extra creamy, I give it that lasagna vibe, I stirred in some ricotta cheese right into the soup. And a little tip if you're tracking macros, the orzo was already cooked, but instead of dumping the whole batch into the pot, I just portioned it directly into the bowl and then ladled the soup over top. That way you can control exactly how much pasta you're having and the leftovers don't get overly thick from soaking up all the broth. Give it a good stir, top with Parmesan, mozzarella, or both. No judgment here. It's cozy and high protein, super filling, and tastes like lasagna, but way less effort, especially for a weeknight. Same ground turkey, completely different dinner, and that wraps up the week. As always, you can find the weekly menu, prep list, ingredient list in the description below. Completely free. Just click the link and that will direct you to a page to download a PDF. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week.